Well, 6:10 in the morning, and I think it's time for a drink. No, wrong end of the day for that. We'll have one of these instead. You probably didn't see what I did earlier, did it a bit quickly, so we'll go through it just again here now. Oh, boilie stop at it, mouth first. Always a good place to keep them, but don't swallow them. Not very nice second time round. Little common carp with a fin up just to show that she's still around and happy to see me. Look at that. Well, darling, I think we should be thinking about putting you back in again. I've got some baits in here that have been soaking probably for 3-4 weeks now. And quite frankly, it smells absolutely disgusting. What's in it then? Hi, I'm Rob Hughes, the current joint world carp angling champion, and I'm here at Pallington Lakes, a small complex of gravel pits near Dorchester in the heart of Thomas Hardy country. I'm here for a 24-hour session to try and catch some of the cracking carp that live in these superb waters. Conditions are ideal, the sun's out, the water's warm, and I'm expecting results later this evening and also through the night. The fish, I'm told, average double figures with the odd 1 or 2 in the 20-pound bracket. The pool record's currently just over £30, and whilst it would be fantastic to catch a really big one, realistically, if I can get a few doubles in the time I've got, I'll be more than happy. Well, this place looks really as good a place as any, I think. Imaginatively called the Point, this one. Can't for the life of me think why. We've got a bit of a point coming out. We've got the wind pushing down from what I believe will be... let's have a look. The sun looks like it's going to go down over there, so that, I think, would be the east. So we've got an easterly-ish wind coming in. Normally I'd avoid an easterly wind in the winter, but in the summer it can give a bit of a cooling influence on the water, so I'm quite happy with that. Let's get that off. So, what have we got? Let's have a look around. First thing to do is consider exactly where we're going and why we're going there. I've chosen this little area here because we've got some cracking Norfolk reed margins there, as you can see. Another lovely little bay on the side there, and also one of the most important things on small pools like this is there isn't anybody around us. We've got a nice quiet section. There's a couple of lads on the far bank up the top end, there's actually 3 lads on the near bank up here, so it seems that at the moment this end is the quietest end of the lake. I don't know if it's been fished earlier in the day, we'll have to find that out later on, but at the moment this gives me a lot of scope. I can see the whole of the lake, so if fish start jumping over there I can move there. The wind's pushing into this area, we've got a nice quiet bay, we've got some lovely rushes, we've got some lovely, what look like quite deep margins. We'll investigate them later, but first and foremost we can see everything and we're quite happy with it. So this, I think, is definitely the place for me. The next thing we have to think of once we've chosen where we're going to fish is exactly where we're going to put the rods. And I know for a fact that one of them is going to go over there in the wind. Now, it looks like somebody's been bivvied up here before. I don't know if you can pick it up off the camera, but there is an area of flattened grass. It actually feels a little bit damper to touch as and when I put my gear down, I felt that. So it looks like somebody's been fishing here before. So one of the first things that I'm thinking of now is where were they fishing, how much bait did they put out, and what sort of bait was it? Because the last thing I want to be doing is piling piles and piles and piles of bait on top of something that's already been put out. So always look at the surroundings when you arrive in your swim, think, has somebody been in before? If so, what have they been using? Now the other little tip you can do is look around the margins, or should I say the grass near to the margins, and see what we can find. Is there any bait on the floor? Let's see what they've been using. You never know, there might be something down here. Oh, what I have found is a bank stick hole. By the look of that, that's a solar bank stick. I can't see any particular bait. I would have thought that it's a carp angler that's been here on the basis that it's a bivvy as opposed to a little fishing box. If you see a box mark, then you know that such things as maggots, sweet corn, ground bait, that sort of stuff has gone in around about a rod length and a bit out. If it's carp anglers, you never know where they'll have put it, because certainly when I'm fishing something like this, I very rarely fish straight out in front of me. They're normally off around the sides, any sort of angle, so they could be anywhere. But again, just pay attention, do the Sherlock Holmes job on the ground. Can't see anything there, no clues. Right, first and foremost, let's get the old buzzers out. Positioning the rods early on, I think is very, very important. So, oh, get the old bad leg over the top of there, push it in. Oh, bit of stiff ground under this, a few rocks. Come on. Yep, you'll just about do there. That'll be fine with that one. If I can just move you out of the way a minute, please, sir. Thank you very much. And sadly, I'm a bit of a poser when it comes to getting the rod set up, so it all has to be absolutely bang on, of which I'm now going to struggle. There we are. That's it. Now, of course, from this point I can see everything around the lake, but the one fundamental reason why I've chosen this swim over and above everything else is that just to the left, just down there, is an absolutely fantastic beer fridge. Look at that. Perfect. Right, I'll deal with you later. Out with the rods. Oh my God, I've forgotten my rods. Gotta go home. Actually, I haven't at all. You don't want to see that. You've seen too many films of rods being set up. I've already got them. And here we have it. Now, without wanting to sound like a tackle advert, I'll just talk you through the kit that I'm using at the moment. I've got, and it's a little bit big for here, but I generally tend to use these for all of my fishing all round. It's a 13-foot, 3.5-pound Rod Hutchinson Dreammaker rod. I've got a Shimano 14,000 Ultegra XT reel. It's spooled up with 12-pound Sabre line. I've got an inline lead, and on this one, a straightforward short nylon hook link. And there we are, more or less all ready to go. You can live down there for a minute, and let's go and get your brother and sister. Here they are, exactly the same pieces of kit, just slightly different rigs, which we will discuss a little bit later on. Don't know whether it's going to rain, but I think it might be putting the house up time fairly soon. Rods out. That's the most important thing at the moment, I think. We're getting into the hot period. As you can see, the sun's just disappearing a little bit. The wind's picking up, the water's starting to cool down, so I would have thought that those fish are going to start to move fairly soon. I've already seen one or two moving over there, and I'm very, very keen on this margin behind me. I fancy that, so I'm going to put a little bit of bait down there. First things first, let's get some bait on and get the rods out. That's a nut drill. Not going to get very far with that one. That's it. Oh, there's a fish just moved over there. Again on the wind, so definitely worthwhile putting a bait down there. Very small baits for this. I've got some nice small baits. Straightforward nylon hook link. Tasty. Boily in the mouth. And I think what I'll do with this one is put 2 baits on it. Just about right. Make that loop just a little bit bigger. Get that hair through there. Come on. Hair's in. Boilies are on. And that, I think, is just about ready to go. So, where am I going to put it? Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a wander at the bank, and the first rod is going to go in that nice little quiet margin up there that's not been disturbed at all. Wind's been blowing in there. I've got a feeling that hopefully there should be 1 or 2 fish up there. So what we'll do is we'll hook you onto there, we'll grab you from there, and we'll go for a little walk. Just looking in the margins as I go, and it does look fairly deep down there. Well, this place looks as good as any, and I can see from the flattened grass that somebody's been walking down here before. It's an ideal place for when I have to walk, hopefully, around here at night later on. You can see the 2 trees on either side. They'll act as my marker. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do, because I'm fishing intimately in the margins, I'm just going to feel around down there with a lead, just to see what's there. Lowering it down slowly, and I can feel it bump on the bottom there. It looks to be around about 3 foot deep. I'll just test that exactly. Now, the way you can test this is by just reeling the slack line up between the lead and the tip, so the tip just touches the water. So drop the lead down, tighten the line up to the tip, and we can see now from the difference between the lead and the tip that it is exactly that, around about 3.5 foot deep, I'd say that is. Fairly good depth for this time of year. So she's going to go back in there. It's gravel at the bottom. Certainly when I feel it land, I can feel it land fairly hard, so it's chunky on the bottom there. Bang, down she goes, feel it land, a couple of bubbles come up, and let's throw some bait around it as well. I don't think there's any weed down there. I haven't found any so far. I can feel around with the hook a little bit, you know, on those couple of little bits that I pulled up earlier, there was nothing there at all, so the indication is that it's completely clean and completely clear. I could find out a lot more about the swim by going in there, digging around, plumbing rod, marker float, but the problem I've got is that it's knocking on now, time's getting short, I'm only here for a short period of time. What I don't want to do is I don't want to disturb this whole area and put those fish off. A lot of people say, yeah, get your marker float rod out, get your plumbing rod out and have a good feel around, but when you're on a short session, you just haven't got time to do that. You need to be in, just find those little areas, and if it's clean and if you're happy with it, that's fine by me. So there we are, I'm crushing these baits up, and that will be really, really good for small fish on the bottom out there. Just lands, rolls nicely to the ground. I'll get a few more out of here and do exactly the same. They start off like that. Once again, these are 12mm MC mix of Rod Hutchinson's, flavoured with monster crab. Literally just soft baits, breaking them up between finger and thumb. So there's lots of particles and bits and bobs floating around. Now when they go into the water, what you'll find is that some bits will fall really quickly, others will sink really slowly, and you'll get like a little soup and a mush on the bottom. Sound like David Bellamy there, all of this, but it's lovely when you get down on the bottom there. As and when the fish come in, you're not going to feed carp, you're going to feed carp, tench, roach, bream. That's what I'm aiming to do. I want everything in this area to come in and feed on these baits, because hopefully if the little ones are feeding, the big ones will come on as well. Now I'm not just going to put boilies out as well either. I'll get a little bit of hemp out there, some carp pellets. Don't use trout pellets anymore, they're not allowed on Pallington, and certainly the oil content in some of these trout pellets these days is questionable on the health of the fish. So we're using carp pellets and we'll get some of those there. And the idea behind this little setup is that I want a trap just to catch one fish. I'm not after a big hit. I'd like a big hit if I could get one, but I'm not after a big hit. I'm just after catching one fish. And when I've caught that one, I'll set another trap to catch another one. What I'll do now is I'll just test that one more time to make sure there's no more weed down there. Just swinging it out once more, exactly where that bait went, nice and slowly down, thump down on that firm bottom there, nice bit of gravel. Once again, bang, in she goes, wallop on the bottom. And I'm going to walk it back down, back to the swim now, so the bait is placed absolutely perfectly. Over the tree. When you're walking back down, always, always, always ensure that that bail arm is open. If you close your bail arm or if you pull it off the bait runner, you run the risk of moving that lead away from where your bait is. You don't want to do that at all. Also, if you're using a bait runner or a clutch, what you'll do is you'll put excess line in the, or excess twist in the line, excuse me, excess twist in the line, which will cause you a problem later on. So bait runner's open, I just dab it finger tight on there, just dabbing it to feel that it's coming off properly, and carry on walking back. Tips up in the air to make sure that it's not snagging on any reeds or anything. There then, bail arm over. I'm just going to tighten up a little bit to that line now. Most important, again, not to move that lead in any way. So I'm tightening up just so it's finger tight, and I'm going to bring her back. Now the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a back lead on that. I'm fishing in the margins just across that bay, so it may be that there's fish just travelling along those margins, so it's best if they don't come into contact with any line, be it tight or slack. This is my back lead. It's a straightforward ½ ounce bomb, and save spending too much money. I'm told that I'm a bit of a tight so-and-so. I don't believe it personally, but I use paper clips. They're as good as anything at all, and if they get snagged, they pull off. If they get trapped in weed, they'll really, that paper clip will just pull off very easily. So on it goes, onto the line up here, tips up in the air. Again, being very careful not to move that lead. Rod on the shoulder, down she comes, and then just slide that down there. That's just sitting in exactly the right place, around about the same distance out from the margins as the other one. There might be a ledge there that might cause me some problems if it goes too far out, so my line is almost around a corner, and then in she comes and down she goes. Once again, not moving that lead, vitally important. If the lead's moved, then you pull it off the baited area, leave it exactly where it is, because we're setting traps. The next important thing to do when you're setting your rod up is to make sure there's nothing in between the tip of the rod and the lead or the back lead that's been put in the water to impede it in any way. You've got to make sure that it's not on any reeds, not on any rushes, and not on anything that will impede it. Certainly not like I've done. As you can see down there, it's just on the top of one of those Norfolk reeds. Now that's going to give me false indication in the wind tonight. If I've not seen that, then the wind's going to move, it's going to bleep the rod, I might hit something thinking it's a pickup and it's not at all, it's just stuck in a weed. So what we've got to do is we've got to shift it off there. So up you come, over the back you go, tightening up once again only to that back lead, not to the lead. Just on the back lead point, if you've never used a back lead before, the whole purpose of using one is to keep the line pinned down to the ground. To exaggerate a point now, it goes straight down from the rod tip to the ground just underneath the tip here and lies flat along the bottom between the two weights on the ground. What that does is it doesn't make the line obtrusive to fish, so they can swim over that to their heart's content and hopefully they won't even know it's there. I'm happy with one of them. Question is, where am I going to put these other two? I've got one in the margins. I like to cover my options as much as possible on times like this. Got a big bit of open water in front of me. From the look of the other guys, they're not fishing at night, they're only here for the day, so I'm going to have all that open water in front of me for the night time. So with this one, I'm going to cast out and just have a feel at what's in front of me. I don't want to go too far. I don't want to impede on that guy's swim over there. And the other thing that I'm doing is I've got a bare hook. I'm not putting anything on it at all at the moment, just a bare hook, because if there's any weed out there, or any bloodworm, or anything else that's on the bottom, I want to know about it. Hopefully this will hook it up and bring it in and show me exactly what it is. So a little swing over, there she goes, about 25 yards out, and let's just pull back and see what we've got. Feels nice and smooth. Oh, silt. Now I know that's silt because as I've cast that lead out, I'm pulling it back, it's running smoothly, and suddenly it's snagged on something. It's not snagged on weed. It seems to have buried itself into the silt because it's very smooth when it comes back. Coming back a bit further, and it's bumping on gravel. As I pull back, I can feel it just bump, bump, bump along. And that looks, from the angle of the line, not to be too far out. So what we'll do is we'll have another couple of swings out there. I would say that that gravel patch is about 10 yards out. Around about there. Another feel. Oh, bit of silt. Silt again, clearly wrong on how far out it was. Oh, and there she is, look. So we'll have one on there and we'll put a bit of bait on that as well. rig-wise, I'm slightly different with this rig. The first one was a nylon fluorocarbon link. This one is a supple link, 15 pound Supernova. We'll tie a couple of these later on, but what we've got to do now is just get these rods out before these fish start feeding. So in this one, once again, the old faithful Hutchie red boilies. They've done me good so far. Straight on the hair. And again, I think I'll have 2 baits on this. These small 12mm baits, I find are quite good because not that many people are using them. All I need now is just a boilie stop. So there's one there. Clip it off with the old broken nail clippers. Wallop, one of those. Into the hair loop, like so. Come on. Don't do this to me. In you go. Yep, there she is. And another rig is ready to go. As I did with the last one, I'm going to have 2 or 3 little swings out just to make sure that it's in the right place. And then I'll pop a little bit of bait on top of it. So there you go. Come back in, finger on the spool just to feel it drop. When you've cast out, if you just loop the line over your finger or put your finger on the spool where the line is on the rim of the spool, you can feel the lead drop through the water. And as it drops through the water, you'll feel the descent slow down and it will bang onto the ground if it's hard, sink into the ground if it's mud or silt, or sink into the weed if it's weedy. And you can tell that difference. Thump, it's on hard ground, gravel, sand, whatever, or squash if it goes into something squashy. Let's pull back a bit. Still on silt there, and chink, 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 just onto the edge of the gravel patch. Perfect. And that's interesting there, just looking out onto the water, I can see a line of bubbles just where I pulled that rod back, so I know that it's definitely silty out there. And the good thing about it is the end of the bubble line is exactly where my bait's going to be. You probably didn't see what I did earlier, did it a bit quickly, so we'll go through it just again here now. Oh, boilie stop at it, mouth first. Always a good place to keep them, but don't swallow them, not very nice second time round. There we are, fairly short link. This one is 15 pound Supernova, made by Christen. We've got a straightforward inline lead, and I've got the swivel just pushed into the end of that. As you can see, it comes off very easily. But what that does is that will create a semi-fixed effect. What does a semi-fixed effect mean? When that fish comes and picks that bait up, it's got to lift the whole weight of that lead first. And as it lifts the weight of the lead, the hook point just bites into the mouth of the fish first, enough to scare it and cause it to bolt off. Now this is called a bolt rig. Always useful in occasions like this. Some people advocate running rigs, other people use bolt rigs. The best thing that I can advise you to do is ask what everybody else is doing on the lake, and if everybody's using a running rig, use one of these kiddies. As far as the hook's concerned, I've got a size 8. It doesn't matter what pattern of hook you use, just find something that you're happy with. And on a water like this, I generally tend to prefer a size 8. Nice fine wire hook, something nice and light. I don't want a big, thick, chunky, heavy hook. I don't need it. There's no snags, there's no weed, there's nothing like that. So I can afford to have a nice fine wire hook. Size 8, downturned eye. And what I've done with this one, and it's something that I suggest everybody does, is just clip the end of the barb off. These are micro barb hooks anyway, but if you just get a forceps and just tweak the end of it, give it a little clip, and it's a lot safer on the fish. It goes in easier, and it also comes out easier. There's no mouth damage. The hair, which is this bit here, is just long enough to take a 14mm boilie that just hangs off the bend of the hook, or alternatively, at a squeeze, it will take 2 10mm pushed right tight up against the shank. I'm going to use 2 10mm on this one, I think. And there we have it, a straightforward rig. The link itself is only around about 6 to 8 inches long. The reason I have it 6 to 8 inches long is because where I'm putting this bait, I'm going to scatter some small particles, some pellets, some hemp on top of it, and when those fish come in and feed in that area, if they don't have to move far between picking up one morsel of food and another morsel of food, then if they've got a long length, they'll either have time to spit it out, or alternatively they'll swallow it and we'll get what's called a bite off, where they cut through the line with their pharyngeal teeth. So nice short link, there's going to be a pocket of bait around it, they don't have to move far, and as soon as this fish picks it up and moves off, wallop, the lead takes effect, the hook goes into the lip, and that fish shoots off to try and get away from me. I hear it on the bank, and lo and behold, I land a 20. That's the theory anyway. So, 1 baiting needle, 2 baits, and 1 precariously balanced hair stop. In she goes, straight through the middle. If you put it through the end or through the side, then it'll be unbalanced and it's more of a tangle risk. Thread it on all the way down to the bottom. Once again, do the same with the next one. Push her on. And then just a little tip now, it's often quite tricky to get your hair stop back through that hair loop. So I tend to push the hair needle all the way through just to make that loop a little bit bigger. Careful on the way out with that crochet hook. Pick the hair stop up, which amazingly I didn't drop in the grass, and pop her through there. On she goes, and that, as far as I'm concerned, is a perfect hooking arrangement for this situation that I'm fishing in now. Now that bait's on, I've just got to find that small gravel area again with this second rod. Oh, caught the finger in the line there. Out she goes, just in line with those trees. Stop it there, come in, and let me just see if I can feel you skimming along that silty area. That's nice and smooth. Now I'm watching the tip all the time just to see if there's any tweaks or pulls, and as soon as I feel those first tweaks on that same line coming back in again, I'll know that I'm just on that gravel area, and there it is, perfect. Look back over there and I can once again just see that line of bubbles out there. So that's my indication to show that it's just on the edge of the silt area and onto the gravel. Clutch open and down goes the rod. The next thing to do, I'm trying to keep my eye on that water just so I know exactly where it's gone, is I'm going to pop some bait out there. I've got a mixture of coarse pellets, that's just about the right distance, and I'm going to put a nice little carpet of these down there. I'm going to scatter some boilies over the top, and I'm also going to put some hemp out as well. So these first, and there's a fish just popped its head out over there on the right hand side, so it looks at the moment like I'm completely wrong on my swim choice. Always follow the wind, that's the golden rule. And what are they doing? They're jumping off the wind. Typical. And that should do it for the trout pellets. A few boilies as well. Now, because that is just short range, I'm probably going to throw these instead. I always find that when I try and catapult boilies out at that short range, one of them goes all the way over there and half of them end up by my feet and I end up rooting through the grass and bird muck to pick them up again, so it's best not to do that really. Beers are chilling nicely, by the way. Out they go. That's not far off the distance. I don't need them to be that tight. I want those fish to concentrate on the pellets in that area and root around a little bit more for that bait. If there's too many boilies in a small area, what they'll do is they'll just pick the odd few up and then disappear. So they're scattered around a little bit more so we can get those fish picking up one bait here, one bait there. They know it's out there. They can smell it, they can feel the trout pellets, they can feed on the trout pellets, and I want them picking up these boilies from here, there and everywhere. And what it does is it makes them move. If you get 2 or 3 fish moving in together, yes, they'll be hoovering up the trout pellets, and all of a sudden it'll be, oh, there's a boilie, we'll have that. Oh, there's another one, we'll have that as well. And it gets them shooting to pick these baits up and competing with each other. And once you've got that competition, that's when you'll get the runs. Final thing to be putting in is a little bit of everybody's favourite, and that is, of course, hemp. fantastic bait, catches absolutely everything that swims, attracts everything that swims. You just can't beat it for attraction purposes. This one's been boiled for 3 hours in a pressure cooker, and that'll just about go out to that distance as well, just to attract those fish in. What I'm hoping to do with this is get all of the little fish feeding and to attract those biggies in as well, because carp really are water pigs. As soon as they see other things feed, they've got to come along and they've got to have a sniff around and find out what's going on. So with that nicely smelly hemp, that should get everything in the whole area looking for food and feeding away. Oh, boilie in that one. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm quite happy with that as rod number 2. And now for my third rod, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring out my secret weapon, which is none other than the gunge jar. Now, what is in the gunge jar, I hear you ask? Oh, it is absolutely foul. I'm not allowed to bring this into the house, and really, I'm sure you wouldn't be as well, but I'll tell you what's in it anyway. We've got 1/3 portions of Christen ambio. That's an amino acid compound. We've got Hutchinson's secret agent, and we've also got regular sense appeal. And my word, it stinks. If you use this in the kitchen, lads, you won't be allowed back in again. But the fish absolutely love it. I'm going to use a pop-up this time. Just spear one. I really don't want to put my hands in there because it does stink to high heaven. It's bad enough having to touch them now. Just push that on. 14mm bait, and it's going to go straight onto the hair. Again, the same more or less hooking setup as last time. It's an inline lead on a supple link, 1 14mm bait, and I just need to get a hair stop now as well. Oh, if you're wondering why I'm stretching and grumbling a lot, I had a bit of an accident skiing a while ago, so if I look as if I'm hobbling around the set a little bit, that's the problem. Here we are, 1 bait, 1 hair stop, 1 goose flying by saying hello. I think it can smell this stuff and it's complaining about it. There we are. You pull on there nicely. That's how it's going to sit, and that's how it's going to look. And all I need finally is just an anchor shot. Straightforward shot out of the box, and I'm going to put it around about 1.5 to 2 inches away from the hook, just on that braid. Nice sounding fish at the back there. I'm just pinching it on ever so lightly. That wasn't a big bite then, it was just a pinch on. It's difficult when you're using braids to anchor pop-ups because unfortunately a lot of the new tungsten putties don't stick to them very well, so I generally tend to anchor a pop-up to the bottom with just a straightforward lead, but do not, whatever you do, bite it too much because it'll crush the braid and therefore you lose a bit of strength in it. So the next thing I need to do is just pop over to the beer fridge over there and just see if that anchors on the bottom or whether it floats to the top. Most important, again, check your pop-ups in the margins before you put them out, because if they don't sit properly in the water, you could be fishing with a completely inappropriate setup. So there we are. Let's see how she goes in. Oh, and that's perfect. That's just popping up actually off the hook. So what I can do with that one is I can even dispense with that lead, because the weight of the hook is just enough there to balance that boilie on the floor, so it's going to pop up purely on the length of the hair. This one is going to be a single bait. The reason it's going to be a single bait is because it stinks so much. I just don't think you need anything within 3 miles of it. So I'm going to pop this one out, real take it or leave it bait. It's going to go more or less, I won't say anywhere, but it's going to be out there in a spot that I think I may catch from. It's going to be 2/3 the way over towards the margins on the other side. I think that's going to drop down nicely over there. And what I'm going to do with it is, if I see anything else move, this is going to be the rod that I reel in and recast out. Oh, sounds like someone's in. Someone's having a bite next door. And we're away by the look of it. It's a bit lucky. With this one, again, it's just out there, and then if I see anything move, I'm going to bring that around and recast to anything that I see. Let's have a look what this chap's got. I'm going to see, and the guy next door looks as if he's got a pickup over there. So you can sit there for a minute, and I'm just going to wander next door and see what he's had. That was a lucky one. How long's that one been out then?
Well, not too long.
Is it?
Popped it down the margin.
Yeah, is it fighting well?
It's quite a small one, really.
Is it? Do you want a hand landing it?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. They go well.
Whereabouts was that then?
Right tight into the margins there.
Just off these Norfolks?
Yeah.
Looks like he's putting a spirited fight up anyway. What do they fight like in here then? Are they good scrappers?
Yeah, they go very well.
Come on then, let's see what you like. Have you seen it yet?
I think it's a mirror.
Oh, no, it's common.
Get everything right.
Fish observation skills there.
There's one or two.
Yeah. Let's have a look. How big is it? It's certainly a puppy. Let's have a look at you. Just putting up a good scrap. Again, these fish down on the wind. This chap's fishing just round the corner from where I'm fishing, just off the side of that point. The wind's moving down here, and those fish are obviously moving on that wind, so certainly a good spot to look out for. You can see it really racing around like a headless chicken, shall we say. There's an analogy for you. All right then, Simon, that looks like that's ready to come in. Little common. Have we got you? Yep, there you go. Well done. Oh, and he's still fighting. Where's your unhooking mat? Shall I grab that rod while you just sort your unhooking mat? Well, there it is. Well, he just arrived, just about to get the rods out, and my next door neighbour's just knocked one out from under my nose. There's a nice bit of luck for him. Let's see if I can get a bit more of that myself in a few moments. Oh, fin perfect common. And I thought originally it was only going to be single figures, but it looks like it might scrape into doubles actually. What a peach. Oh, and that was hooked very lightly there. I'll put this to one side for you. Very easy in the excitement of a fish capture to stand on things, trip over things and break things. So if you're fishing with a mate, get one of you to get the rod while the other one looks after the fish, and just pop it out the way so you don't break something. These things are too expensive to break. How's she looking?
Yeah,
there we are. What Simon's just doing at the moment, he's putting a bit of Solar Remedy on, which is just like an antiseptic mouthwash style thing. Carp conservation is at the forefront of everybody's minds these days. You can see from this, there's no damage whatsoever from that hook hold there. Absolutely perfect fish, perfect mouth hold. And what he's doing is just putting a little drop of that on just to make sure that no infection can get in through that hook hold. It's always very worthwhile getting this sort of stuff. Christen do it, it's called Clinic, and Solar do it as well. You've just seen the stuff there. So always worthwhile looking after your fish. You never know, this could in future years be one of the British records. That's it, keep it nice and low to the ground just to make sure that if it does flip, it's not going to fall very far. It's always a risky manoeuvre when you're moving fish back to the water. They're wet, they're excited, they want to get back. You want to make sure they go back safely. So in she goes, and look at that, just ready to go off and fight another day. Lovely. Come back in a few years when you're even bigger. Well then, nice little bit of action. Just while he's sorting things out over there, what I'm going to do in a minute is just reel this one in and tuck it just a little bit round to the left-hand side, but don't say anything. Little tip, if people next door are catching fish, don't, whatever you do, encroach on their swims, but just edging it a little bit that way doesn't do any harm whatsoever. So, where's my swingers? There's two of them. There's the third one. I'm going to put these on, and as soon as he's put these on, I'm going to set my house up. So go make yourself a cup of tea, come back in a few minutes, you'll see where I'm going to be living for the next day or so. Well, the construction work's done on the house. I'm up and ready to go now. Everything's all sorted. I've got the rods out, they're in the right place. I've got everything level on both the buzzers, the indicators and the reel handles. Everything looks the same, so if something goes anywhere near my tackle this evening, then I'll know exactly which one it's been to. Even if something's happened through the night and I get up just to miss that alarm, I'll know that something's been there because it will have moved something on there. Everything's exactly the same. I've got my unhooking mat and my landing net to hand, so in the dark I know exactly where they are. I'm sat here, ready to go now. There's only one thing left to do. And for the observant ones amongst you, you'll have noticed the fridge has changed, and that is just to celebrate the evening. Ooh. There we go. Cheers. Goose muck. Brilliant. Another one.
Yeah.
Excellent. What was that on?
Green lip mussels.
Green lip mussels, eh? Oh, and it's another common. Well done. Right, that's got him. What was that one, just down the side again?
Margins again, yeah.
Do you find that it's mainly the margins here that produce then? Right. Excellent. Another little common. Oh. Right, where are we? Perfect. Let's unhook him for you. Just in the side there. And straight out. Let's turn him round a little bit. Let's have a look what we've got. Super.
Cheers.
What do we think? Possibly 9, 10 pound just about again.
Just about,
I'd have
yeah.
thought.
Yeah, that way.
Lovely. I'll move this out your way. Brilliant. Well done. And 2 to the maestro. And back she goes, none the worse for wear. Well, I've got one. The weather, as you can see, has changed and it is absolutely chucking it down. But fortunately that margin rod's paid off and I've just had an absolute belter on that. Normally the case, cameraman's tucked up in the dry, Rob's out in the wet watching the rods. Still fighting quite well at the moment. Plodding around in the margins down here just under the rod tip. The margin here just drops straight down to about 6 foot, about a rod length out, and I don't know if you can pick that up, but there's rumbles of thunder going on in the background. We've had a lovely day today and that weather has just changed completely. Come on, darling, where are you? Nearly there. Oh, doesn't clearly like the light of the cameras, but we'll soon get you in. Come on. My hair's getting wet and I can feel my bald patch. Ooh, there you are, come on. Nearly there. Got to try and keep it away from that other rod. No, still not ready. Oh, and under the line she goes. Come back, come back. Come on, be good to me. That's got you. Oh, she's off again. Come here. This is where the bad leg comes into play again. Just to get that leverage on the rod, I've got to kneel down a bit, and it's just a bit tricky. Come on, where are you? Nope, still not ready. Isn't it brilliant when you want it to come straight in, it fights like Billy-O and I'm getting soaking wet. There we are, on the top. It's only a small one as well. Ooh. Come on, come to Daddy. Common, certainly is. And from the look of Simon's fight earlier and also this one, they're fairly good scrappers, these little commons here. Just rooting around in those weeds, doesn't like the light at all. But I'm going to get you this time. Come on. Oh, not ready. Come on, darling. Ugh. And a foot full of water for it as well. There we are, on its way in. Just skimming along the top there. And look at that, this one there. Come on. Yes! Got him. Whew. That was a scrap and a half for a little one. It really was. Let's be having it. Plop you down there. You probably feel as home out here as you did in there. It's certainly that wet anyway. Let's have a look at you. Oh, and the hook, is it out? No, not quite. This one actually looks, from the mark of its mouth, as if it's been caught recently. I've hooked it quite far in the back of the mouth. Come on. No, it's gone a long way. That's got you. That's a good thing about these barbless hooks. If they do go a long way back, you can pull them out fairly easily, just in case you're getting stuck in there. Whew. Now then, let's have a look what we've got. Apart from an absolute soaking, we've got a very, very nice little common carp with a fin up just to show that she's still around and happy to see me. Look at that. Well, darling, I think we should be thinking about putting you back in again. Get back to your watery home. Come on then, let's get you back in. And the question I'd like to know from you is which one of us two is the wettest at the moment. I think it's probably me. And away she goes. Well, that's what carp fishing is about. You sit there and you're dying for a run for ages and ages and ages. You don't get one when it's nice and dry, you get one when it's raining like this. So there I am, soaking wet. It's pitch black, and just for your information, it was the rod around the corner in that far margin that I walked around and just threw and that did the business. So what I'm going to do now, despite the fact that it's pitch black, is I'm going to re-rig up and I'm going to be back out there doing it again. Well, 6:10 in the morning, and I think it's time for a drink. No, wrong end of the day for that. We'll have one of these instead. Absolutely chucked it down last night, it really did. I got soaked, I've just about managed to dry. Managed to pick a couple of fish up through the night, and it's looking carpy this morning. As you can see, we've got sort of misty, light drizzle coming down. Forecast for a bit of bright sunlight later today, so hopefully this morning I might be able to get something from this near margin. Or who knows where, let's see, but it's still looking good for a fish this morning. In fact, one's just popped up over there now. Brilliant, still in with a chance. First thing I need to do really is get this down me and get warmed up again. Come on, fishies. Morning, Simon.
Morning, Rob, all right?
You got one then?
Yeah, nice linear.
No doubt in the middle of the rain.
Yeah, it was. I got a bit drenched in my underpants.
Did you?
Yeah.
Ooh. Do you really want to talk about that?
Not really, no.
What time was this one then?
About 4:30.
Was it?
Yeah.
I had a couple earlier on and it was just frightening, that storm last night, wasn't it? It was so wet.
I bought a rod in then, I must admit.
Did you?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I've had nothing since my last one at 2:30. I must say I didn't hear this one. It was raining that much, I just didn't hear it go.
It was a nightmare.
Or I would have been out to give you a hand. Oh,
Thank you.
flipping around. Let's have a look at him then. That's a beauty. Very nice, these fish, aren't they?
Yeah, got some lovely patterns.
Yeah, lovely scale patterns on them. Move back towards his tail. Yeah, cockfish.
Yeah, it's a lovely one. That's over back in there.
I'll move out your way. That's it, keep him close to the ground. On short sessions, it always pays to cast a moving fish, and I've just seen one down there in that bottom corner near that bivvy come up more or less in the corner. Oh, and that's not bad at all. Just where we want it. Now what I've got on there is a really smelly single bait. I know this fish there, I've seen them move, so I've just lobbed one out. I'll leave it there for perhaps an hour or so and just see what happens. Hopefully that one will rattle off and I'll get you some more pictures. Just had a pick up on that right-hand rod. That's the one that I picked the two fish up on through the night. Oh, he's not half kicking. Come on. Cracking little spot just round that corner there on that gravel. Really has been consistent for me. One or two fish moving now. As you can see, the weather's not really picking up from our storm last night. But you never know. It's forecast to be brighter later, so let's hope it does pick up a little bit. I've not got long left now, probably just a few more hours. So just a couple more fish would be nice. Oh, common coming in. There he is. Come on. Interestingly now, I think this would be the second, is it second or third common I've had. Fairly spirited fight on these. The margins down here just drop straight down, so you can get them under your rod tip fairly quickly. And then they plod around and don't want to do anything other than get in the weeds. Come out of there, you little... Oop, careful what I say there. You gorgeous little creature, I think we'll say, shall we? Come on, up you come. It looks another double-figured fish, around about 12 pounds-ish. And my word, do they fight. Come on. Oh, tip now, he's trying to get under the rod tip and into this Norfolk reed just underneath me. And the thing to do is just get that line straight above his head. If he starts to come in, then he'll wrap himself around the reeds. And you run the risk of losing the fish. Come on. Lovely curve on these rods. Again, remember I said these are 13-foot, 3.5 pound test curve rods. Thought we were going to be off on another one then. They're certainly starting to feed. Yeah, 13-foot, 3.5 pound test curve rods, and I'm quite happy fishing with this just around the corner. Playing the fish on the back wind with a little bit of clutch as well, just keeping that clutch adjustment so that if the fish does tear off, it's not going to snap the line. Come on, up you come. Still thumping around there in the margins, and I'm just using that left hand to support the rod when your wrist gets tired, and it does, even on these smaller fish, you do get quite tired in the right wrist there. I'm just using that left hand to support the rod a little bit higher up. Butt of the rod, oh, almost under the landing net there. Butt of the rod is resting on the elbow, right hand holding the rod around the reel seat, and the left hand are just giving a little bit more support, and I can feel it thumping down. Now just controlling it on a shortish line there, and I think Oh, no, I think we might be nearly ready for netting. Come on. Oh. Sun just starting to break through this hazy mist. It's going to be sunny later, I promise you. And here we come. There he is, nearly in the net. And safely in. Yes. Another cracker. Let's see what we've got. Lovely common carp. Might be just a little bit bigger than I thought, perhaps even £12, £13. Hook's just come out nicely there. Once again, an advantage with these barbless hooks. And let's just have a quick look at him. Give him the once over. Looks a nice clean fish. Slip your tail out of there. We'll just have a quick look at you for the camera, and then you'll be back in again in no time at all. There she is, look at that. What a marvellous fish. Good little fight on it. And exactly what we came here to do. Just these small doubles. They're so exciting catching these small fish on small waters like that. You read about the 30s and the 40s in the papers. You don't need fish of that size. These are fun fish. You can catch them in a lot of lakes, and Pallington is just the place to come down and catch something like this. Now, let's just pop this one back in again. Once again, I know we repeat the lesson, but just keeping this fish close to the ground when you walk back in. Let's get ready to pop him in. There she is, look at that. What a beauty. Careful, one with the fish and two with the angler, because I don't really want to go for a swim. I had a bath last night and I got soaked in the rain, ready to go. Oh, and straight back in again. It's turning around to come back. Come on then, darling, where are you? Go away. Sometimes they sit there for a while. It pays just to keep an eye on them to make sure they're okay before they shoot off. Just sitting there, getting his bearings, and soon he'll be off, hopefully, to eat some more food. See you again soon. As hoped, conditions picked up a little, the sun shone, and I managed another couple of fish, including this fantastic linear. Pallington Lakes were kind to me, and in under 24 hours fishing I managed 5 doubles up to £16. In this new millennium, with more anglers turning to carp as their target species, we need to really be on the ball if we're to catch consistently. It's no good just sitting and hoping. You need to think, try different methods, and stay ahead of not just the fish, but the anglers around you. You don't have to catch enormous fish to enjoy your carp fishing, as you've seen today. This short session has been excellent fun, and a good few fish have been banked in the process. Here are my 6 top tips to short session success. Follow the wind. Be different, take risks. If you see one, cast a bait to it. Don't forget the margins. Always watch the water. And finally, be prepared to move. If you follow these tips, hopefully you should put a few carp on the bank, but whatever you do and however you do it, the main thing is to enjoy your carp fishing. Carpe diem, seize the day. That's Latin, you know. Cracking, off to fight another day.